Everyone here?
Here, I'm in there.
Okay, calling order the council meeting of January 27th, 2026. Please call the roll.
Ms. Swords? Here. Mr. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Bodie?
Here.
Ms. Godin? Here. Mr. Lemay?
Here.
Mr. Gentile?
Here.
Colonel Rice?
Here.
All right, good evening. Welcome to our guests, to our audience, and to anyone visiting with us online. Good evening, City Council. We are going to, we have a couple of things before we move to our traditional Pledge of Allegiance. First, I just want to acknowledge the very sad passing of one of our former colleagues here. Mr. Cleve Svetlik passed away this last weekend. For those who knew him, Cleve was a very dedicated, long-term public official here in Pepper Pike, serving on council for many years. I think he went off of council 15 years ago. So many of you did not know him. Some of the gray hairs here did. And we send our condolences to his wife Bonnie and to his family. And there will be a memorial service for Cleve next March. There's one other thing that I do want to bring up. This has been a very traumatic week in the United States of America with the killings that occurred in Minneapolis, Minnesota. On behalf of this city, I want to extend our condolences to the families and to the members of that community, and let them know that a small city in the state of Ohio stands with them in their grief during this time. We have a very special country that we live in, and it is up to all of us as citizens to protect and honor the traditions and the strengths of what made this country what it is today. And it is not to be casually disregarded. And with that said, I would ask you all to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and to this day give special consideration to the words we are saying. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We are going to return now to our conversation regarding Bank One. Pardon me. An old client of mine that just came to mind out of Freudian slip doesn't even exist anymore. So anyway, thank you, gentlemen here from Dollar Bank. If you would please reintroduce yourself just for the purposes of this record, so that the record reflects your presence and who you are.
Sure. My name is Brad Crane. I am Senior Vice President of Treasury Management and the Division Manager for our Treasury Management Group and Public Funds Banking Group here in the Northeast Ohio market. I've been with Dollar Bank for 20 years, and I'll turn things over to Chris.
Thank you. My name is Chris Evenell, Dollar Bank Treasury Management Officer. I work with multiple different communities, municipalities throughout Cleveland as well.
Okay, and just prior to this meeting, you addressed the Finance Committee of the city, and we were very fortunate to have not only the members of our Finance Committee, but just about the entire City Council present also. One member joined us towards the end of your talk. So there's much of your presentation, I think, that you've already put out to the City Council for their consideration. I would like to pick up, I guess, with the conversation that we were having prior to our adjourning that committee meeting and coming into the council session. So are there other questions or inquiries that the city council would like to make of these gentlemen in our consideration of a depository agreement with Dollar Bank?
I have one. How did this come about? That we're talking with Dollar Bank.
When I first got here, one of the issues I think that came up was that we just weren't earning interest on a lot of our funds. So that was one of the things that I've tried to mitigate by investing more into Star Ohio and moving it and staying on top of it. Still, anytime you do that, there's a significant amount of funds that you're going to have flowing in and out that just doesn't get swept into somewhere that's earning interest. So that was a major consideration of mine.
I guess my question was more, did they contact us or did we contact them?
I sought them out after talking to one of my colleagues in Beechwood, actually. So I knew I was going to talk to somebody about this, and then I kind of explained in the finance committee the genesis of it, and I reached out. One of the partners I reached out to was Key Bank, who we did a lot of business with in Lakewood. When I RFP'd them in Lakewood, nobody really even came close to Key Bank, and they were a great business partner to work with there. When I had lunch with the Beechwood Finance Director, Larry Heisel, one question I asked him about was this specifically, who was his banking partner, and he started telling me who his banking partner was, and he was very happy with his banking partner. And then some of the benefits, as I would see it, he explained that basically they were a great banking partner. They were far and above what I would have expected any banking partner to do. So I met with them a couple of times, and they were gracious enough to sit down with me, put forth a proposal in a very organized way, and a lot of the benefits, basically, I think that Beechwood's getting, we're getting also. So I was very pleased that they were able to offer us what they are now. So that's kind of where this has been. I just wasn't going to be happy with kind of the management I would have to do with sweeping funds with our current vendor, the way the sweep process worked. And this is going to work out much better for us. The interest rate they're paying is not far below what's in Star Ohio. So in a big way, there's not a whole lot of incentive to be moving money back and forth all the time also. So that's definitely, things that are to their credit.
So the short answer is dissatisfaction with the current net banking partner, and talking with a couple others,
Yes,
and being impressed with Dollar Bank
very impressive.
and having a good recommendation from your counterpart in Beach.
Yes.
So as I look at the cash investments from the December financials, we have 3 accounts with JP Morgan Chase, 3 with Huntington, Fifth Third, which is our main investment in Star Ohio. So which ones of those would transfer over? All of them except for Fifth Third, or you stay with Star Ohio with some?
We're probably definitely going to target JP Morgan, and then Huntington's. One of their products I think they're going to be able to do for us is create sub-funds for each of these different categories that we like to use Huntington
Okay.
for. So if we're able to do that, I'd just like to have all the banking
You
in
can
one
sweep it all in
place,
one, which
as
makes
opposed
sense.
to having more than one bank. We'll see how that works. We're going to go through the process, and that's the plan.
So, but is the minimum $1 million? Is that what it is to earn the interest? And does that read the proposal, or is it?
There's no minimum.
Okay. So you can leave money at Star Ohio if you want in Fifth Third. Definitely Fifth Third, but Star Ohio, you could split some of that away to the bank and, okay.
Yeah,
We would want to keep money, the ability to have Star Ohio and other schools. The rates are variable and they can be better or worse. And you just have to do that calculation all the time.
yeah, we'll definitely keep the Star Ohio and Fifth Third is the plan.
Gotcha. Okay.
Those other smaller bank accounts can be lumped together. I always thought that would have been a good way to go. And I think you're saying that there'd be sub-accounts and that there'd be just one main account and they would all feed whatever they need to, or the other ones would feed into that main account.
Yeah.
That's a much
Makes perfect sense.
smoother way to
Yeah.
do our banking and longer.
Peter, we keep Fifth Third because of the investments, is that why?
Yeah, Fifth Third's doing our, helping us with our investing, so all the different treasury yields we have, all the different products, they're buying corporate bonds for us now is the new part, municipal securities, treasuries. So they're like the big cash management. The Dollar Bank's gonna be like our banking partner, who's gonna like help us with a lot of the day-to-day stuff, kind of like your picture, you have your own bank, and then you have maybe a Charles Schwab account. It's kind of two different things. Yeah, maybe you could merge them, but, for right now, that's definitely the plan, is to have somebody that's gonna be paying all of our checks and keeping track of, all the ins and the outs. And then, Fifth Third's kind of like what we have in the investment.
Okay, so just from my understanding, does that mean general fund would be with Dollar Bank?
No,
It's not
but
like that.
don't, it's not necessarily general fund, it's just all of the city's funds kind of commingled. Whatever we have in available cash, that's what we invest.
So it's cross-fund, it pays all the bills.
Anything more? Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion then to approve a public depository agreement with Dollar Bank pursuant to section 234.10 of the codified ordinances. Would someone like to make that motion? So moved.
Second.
Did the finance committee make a recommendation on this?
We kind of ended the meeting without doing that.
So the two meetings ran together, but I mean, as I recommend that we go forward if that's what you're looking to hear, yes.
And I should give just a little context. You mentioned the every 5 years under state code. Municipalities are required to bid the work sort of every 5 years. We have exercised our own rule authority. We are not bound by that, so we can do that at any time we choose to do it. You'll note that you're making a motion tonight. You don't need to pass legislation, and our relationships last for as long as we want them to. So,
Eric, since I wasn't here for that entire thing, I'd just like to hear, I guess, Jim making the motion. I know where he stands.
Yeah.
Jackie is the other member.
I'm in support of this. I think they made a compelling case. I talked to Peter separately yesterday and went through it in some detail. I didn't realize you guys were a mutual bank. And
That's a huge plus.
to me, that's a huge plus in my other aspects of my life. I really put a premium on mutual organizations like State Farm is a mutual, believe it or not. Vanguard is a mutual. Vanguard is a mutual. There's something about that from a return, from a integrity. There's a lot of things that brings with it. So
Priorities.
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 And so that's a real plus. You guys should pitch that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I like the proposal. Peter's given me far more background on this in a earlier conversation, so I am supportive of going forward.
Same.
The only thing better than mutual is a credit union.
Jackie, you're also supportive?
Yes.
Okay. So,
I'll
any
second.
further discussion regarding?
You gotta second it.
You already have a second. Yes.
Okay. Not hearing any further discussion, roll call please.
Ms. Swart? Yes. Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Modi,
Yes.
Ms. Godick,
Yes.
Mr. Lemay.
Yes.
Mr. Gentili.
Yes.
Colonel Rice.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. We are, and more so, thank you, Peter, for your initiative in identifying this as a target for the city to improve its services and its banking relationships. We look forward to a long and prosperous relationship with you. Thank you
As
very
do we,
much.
and certainly appreciate again, the opportunity to have been here this evening. We look forward to moving forward as your banking partner.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
When would this officially start? Anyone know?
Take part.
When would it start?
It's gonna start when it started.
Well, there's a transition plan, the second or
rest is
third last page.
Operationally transition. All right, we are going to change things around a little bit, as was forecast in our last session. We are, see how this works out. We're advancing. Typically, this would be after the call to order for anyone. But because of our guests this evening, we put them in front of this. We're going to advance our audience comments to the head of our agenda, as opposed to waiting till the end. That will give members of the public the opportunity to comment on matters on the agenda for that evening. And the council can benefit from any observations of the public prior to casting votes that evening. So with that, we would open it up to any public comments. And
Mayor DeClerc.
I think what I heard though at the last meeting was that the comments from the audience at this juncture would be limited to things that are on the agenda only. Is that correct?
we talked about that. You heard the words right. We did talk about that. And in putting the document together for the agenda, I considered, well, should we have a whole other audience comment section at the end? It's a lot of, it really potentially could extend our meetings considerably. So what I was thinking is we encourage people to limit their comments to the agenda. If there's something perhaps pressing that they feel they have to make a comment to council about. As always, we appreciate people being mindful of the clock and limiting their comments.
The weather.
But I think the intent, and it's always been I think with the comments now in advance of the rest of the agenda, it lends itself more logically to, lending itself to being to the agenda items. But look, we should maybe see how it plays out. And
You don't want to explicitly limit to that if someone.
no, I'm not trying to explicitly limit that.
I agree with that.
I would encourage, I think it's the most beneficial thing for the council to hear anything about the agenda.
And since this
But
is,
we don't have to be that stiff about it, I think, going into it initially. Let's see how it plays out.
since this is new, I wanted to make sure I understood the intent and how you
Yeah.
you saw this proceeding. So thank you.
So Mayor,
It's a little bit of a working process, obviously. Yes.
in this format today, does council respond or is it still one way?
And so council they're meant as comments. This is not meant as a town hall gathering, ever has it been the intent of the audience comments or comments. It's not the opportunity really for a dialogue. I would hope, one thing that I hope that we will do is maybe move into a place where there is maybe more opportunity for audience or not audience, members of the public to engage with the city council and the administration as we're going forward. Maybe something that Mr. Modi is going to touch on later this evening even. Let's be nimble enough to see how things play out, I think.
I also want to suggest that the audience, if they have something that is new, or that they might consider approaching a council person and building some advocacy, if I said that right, and then perhaps together with the council person, they might get it on a future agenda and and thereby develop and vet any new ideas before they even get discussed publicly.
Right. I think it's probably a good suggestion, Mr. Schmidt. All right, so we will open it up to any public comments about the agenda, basically.
Well, Richard Ferguson, 29200 Pittsfield Road, and I'll be off the agenda to start with the recent snow events.
It's already fallen apart.
Yeah. With the recent snow events since the last meeting. The Lander Trail has been in for now 2 winters. Shaker and part of Woodland for this year. Is it easier just to say that those trails will not be year-round trails? For heavy snows, we just won't address them?
I'll break my own rule just to get it out there. For the Gates Mills Trail, we have secured a plow that we attached to one of our pieces of equipment. It is the last thing that we address so far as clearing. Our first obligation of our service department is to make sure our roads are safe and secure and cleared for traffic and for emergency vehicles, things like that. So we have, I think cleared that trail, a couple of times this winter. There is not an anticipation that we'll be clearing, the neighborhood walkways. Again, we're trying to be nimble and see how things work out. I have communicated with a number of other cities as to how they handle these things. And the reality is, right now, this winter, we kind of got clobbered a couple of times. But the reality is, the walkways are generally clear during the winter. It snows, it melts, it snows. So there's a lot of openness. So no, I'm not ready from my chair to say they're only open part of the year. I'm not ready at all to say something like that. Anyone else? Yes.
Joyce Barber, 33,000 Shaker Boulevard. I want to compliment our garbage men with the past snowstorms have been so timely and out there. And then I do want to ask about the how safe it is on our roads. I know these have been great amounts of snow. I've seen a couple of cars into snowbanks. We have tracks going for the cars on Shaker Boulevard. This afternoon, I saw the snowplow clearing the circle, but our streets aren't cleared. So I do have concern for our residents out there that need to get out, for our safety forces that need to get out there to protect us. If someone needs an ambulance, the roads aren't clear. You go to University Heights, Shaker, those roads are better cleared. Mayfield Heights. I am really disappointed in the snow removal. Sunday morning, 9:30 in the morning, it looks like it was just car tracks. It didn't even look like the snowplows are out there. So I think we need to relook at just salting the intersections. I've had a couple of people call me saying the same thing. I don't know if you're hearing it, but I think it's a disservice to our community, the way our roads are looking compared to other cities.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure that's something Mr. Advent is going to touch upon during his comments. Anyone else? All right, then we will proceed. Our next agenda item is approval of the council minutes of December 4th and December 9th and December 15th. First, we will look to the minutes of December 4th. Can we first have a motion for their approval?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Not hearing any, roll call.
Ms. Swartz? Yes. Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Moulton?
Yes.
Ms. Godek? Yes. Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentile?
Yes.
Colonel Rice?
Yes.
Next, a motion for the approval of December 9th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Subject to the correction that Sheila sent out.
Yes. Any further comments? Roll call, please.
Ms. Swords? Yes. Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Ms. Godek? Yes. Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentil?
Yes.
Colonel Rice?
Yes.
Right, thank you. And finally, a motion for the approval of December 15th minutes. Okay, any discussion regarding those? Not hearing any, roll call, please.
Ms. Swords? Yes. Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Moody?
Yes.
Ms. Godek? Yes. Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentil?
Yes.
Colonel Rice?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we move on to consideration of ordinance 2026-03, amending our meeting times of council meetings, 220.01A. It's on for first reading tonight. If we had talked about generally, if this was adopted, making these changes effective for our upcoming February meetings. So is there any further discussion regarding the meetings? Okay, that's what we're fine. We would entertain a motion to suspend.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Swords?
I have questions on this, so I'm gonna say no, but we can talk about it.
Well, ask your questions.
Well, my question is, due to the way the agenda is laid out, like, we're gonna talk about this first reading, but then we have discussions about things that would ultimately impact that.
Well,
So I'm just kind of confused on.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
operations.
and generally the way the discussion happens is first you get the motion on, and then you have a discussion prior to a vote. So that said, maybe it was premature to ask for a motion to suspend at this time. Maybe we should typically, because we're suspending, why don't we just have a discussion right now and talk about it, okay? Thank you, Ms. Swords, for your comment.
Do you want the committee stuff? Do you want to explain the suspension and how that process
Well,
works?
they can have, I mean, because they can have a discussion about anything they want to discuss. So go ahead and have a discussion.
We're gonna have a discussion. Let me make an observation about that, because this is the ordinance that resets our time to 6:30. And there's a collateral consequence of that I just wanted to point out, as to whether or not we lock it in at 6:30 or make one 6:30, one 7, just how do we handle this? Because our finance committee meeting is typically that half hour or so prior to the council meeting. And if it's at 6:30, that could advance that to 6 o'clock, which I understand might be a logistical problem potentially for one of our members on the committee. And I just want to make sure that that's okay before we lock something like that.
Except that I'm sitting here thinking that we didn't have the entire finance committee meeting agenda completed today, precisely because the meeting was backed up against the council meeting. And so my observation is I'd like to move the finance committee to a separate day at this point, until somebody convinces me otherwise.
Okay, let me try to convince you otherwise.
A separate day at like a 5 p.m. time slot, like a immediately at like sort of a
We could-
time slot.
So, we could talk about
Yeah, well, let me just
other
touch
options.
on that, because it's a little bit of a quandary for us, I think. Let me first point out, I think this may be the first time ever that I have seen a finance committee meeting extend beyond.
It may be one other occasion in my 14 years as chair of that, where that's happened.
I think it was a
very
one-hit
rare.
wonder that we had tonight.
Yeah,
And I'll defer to experience, I would, but
Okay.
my observation.
Okay, so, and it's a fair observation and concern, but if we assume that this may have been a one-off here, we still have the dilemma of, that I pointed out before. So to move it to another day presents a challenge for Mr. Rankentor. actually. Because right now, he is here on the days of our council meetings late into the day. If we move the finance meeting, which is the only city meeting he attends, to another day, that means Peter, we're really putting on Peter having to stick around here pretty late another day. And I'll speak for Peter, he'd prefer not to do that.
Oh.
He loves us, but he'd prefer not to do it. So what I'm thinking is maybe it's solvable, that maybe I think it's admirable and worthwhile that we make the one meeting 6:30. Maybe we have, I don't know if we keep the council meeting scheduled generally for 6:30, but it would be preceded by the finance meeting always, or if we just make officially one of the meetings start at 7 o'clock.
That's perfect. Then everything starts at 6:30.
Okay, why not? Why not?
Everything will start at 6:30, but the council meeting
We'll go
will
half
only
hour
exist
after
at 7 o'clock on one of the days.
Easy day.
Why
Well, then
not?
you're kind of requiring the full council to be here potentially for a half hour that they don't necessarily.
No,
need
I'm
to.
saying that the ordinance should be shifted, amended to read 6:30 on one day, 7 o'clock on another day,
Gotcha.
and that the council, and that the committee would meet at 6:30 on the 7 o'clock meeting day.
Do we have to put a time in, Steve?
My question exactly, I asked him.
You're supposed to adopt a rule that says when your regular meetings are scheduled. You have typically had it in an ordinance before you started here. I mean, it's just been that way forever. You're not required to do it. The benefit of it is obviously it's available for everybody to know. And, getting notice out is a lot easier than it used to be. So it's up to you. The concern when you start moving your regular meetings, if you shift them, I mean, as I understand the proposal, it's to have one at 6:30 and one at 7. And you certainly can do that.
I think, good. I think we should have council meetings start at 7 for both of them. Just keep it the same. And honestly, I think that's a nice time and slot to have it. Work will be done for most people by then, for sure.
I tend to agree with Mr. Modi, because I don't know that we thought about members of the audience and folks who aren't members of this body and their ability to attend. There may be dinners that get in the way and may prevent some of our residents from coming if we started at 6:30. So I think that 7 o'clock is maybe a nice compromise where we're keeping the potential or the residents in mind as well as accommodating ourselves.
Sounds
So-
good to me.
So the reason I like earlier, I understand Cindy, is my sympathy lies with the staff. So Peter lives on the west side. If you start pushing meetings later, he's not gonna go home after work and come back for a meeting. Chief lives out in Chardon. I mean, I'd rather see that they move a little bit earlier just for continuity for the staff. That's why I would prefer 6:30 for the meetings and 6:30 finance, 7 o'clock meeting on the second meeting. That's what I would prefer. I mean, I'm a retired dude. I can go whenever you want. You want to go Saturday mornings, you want to go noon. But that's my preference on why I look at 6:30.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could do 3 in the afternoon. I wonder too, if for the finance committee meeting, could we have it start an hour before the council meeting and have a little buffer? And maybe it gives people even a chance even to go hit the restroom between meetings.
That messes it up for Jackie. I'll speak for Jackie. That would mess it up for Jackie if we started at 6.
I mean, I could do it once a month, it's fine.
When we have something like we had today, we could back it up on an ad hoc
Yeah.
basis rather than always have it do that, because usually 20 minutes and we're done.
So are you okay if it's 2 6:30s?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to be the one.
No, I was just
Schedule
trying to look
around.
out for your
Yeah,
travel
no, I
schedule
appreciate
coming up
that.
from Akron. That's-
Yeah, I appreciate it. But
So
yeah,
the finance meeting would be at 6 then,
that would be fine.
unless we did the way, Mr. Gentili's consideration is not out of bounds, but neither is the colonel's.
Just don't know that we considered the audience members, the residents, in moving it up that early because that we might be infringing on folks' dinner times.
I was a little worried about myself too. Sometimes I have late calls. I go till at least till 6. Sometimes.
Well, is 6:30 workable, I guess is the question. Up to you, Council.
The other
I
thing
can't
to do
call
is
this.
give it a shot. If it becomes a little more problematic for audience or for residents or members of council, we can always readdress it after
We can.
a month or two.
Yeah, can we leave the time just vague? Can we evening, instead of a specific time, or do we need to specify anything?
I think
I'd
that's a
rather
good
have the
idea.
times published because that
Well,
way,
I mean, there's always notice, right?
yeah.
Regardless of what the ordinance
It's easy
says.
for us because we get all the emails. It's kind of for, if you're a resident.
Well, if you're a resident,
I
you're
call.
going to the ordinance to see when our meetings are, you're probably just going to the calendar and the website, right?
Well, they're going, but now they know when it is every week. But I'm with you.
Yeah.
You're right, yeah.
The information's getting out there.
I'd be willing to bet that most people know that the meeting started at 7:30, and if we changed it, they would know what time they started, and that should really be in the ordinance. And then if we need to move it, we can move it. I mean, we've done that.
All right, so why don't we just leave it the
We
way
had
the
we
ordinance
had a
is
6 o'clock
drafted?
meeting in
And
December.
we'll just leave the ordinance the way it's drafted. And again, we'll stay nimble, see how it works. And if it's not working, we'll play with it.
So the communications committee is another one that was before council, so when the communications committee meets, can we just kind of like as a group decide on that new time and then share it out, or does it have to go through council like this?
You don't have to do it on the same day as a council meeting because generally we don't have
Okay.
staff.
Yeah, I don't know if that was just for convenience, but I wanted
No,
to,
no.
we're gonna readdress when that might be.
Yeah, you can do that any
Do you
day of the
think-
week you want. I think.
Do you think that that's gonna continue, that you won't have any staff as part of the communication meeting?
I don't know, but we can
It's
save
hard
that
to
for the
say.
first one tomorrow, I guess.
I will say, if it's a 6:30 start, there's no way we can have it before.
I agree, but we can handle that tomorrow, then I just wanna make sure it didn't have to come to this body.
Did the
No.
communications committee meet before council meetings?
It actually
was-
met the Monday before the first council meeting.
Okay, so
When
it's a
staff was
separate
running
night.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just, we're reconvening tomorrow and we might shift based on this, and so I wanted to know if it had to come here or not.
I do like having the finance committee right before council meeting. That way all the council members can attend. 'Cause
Yeah.
Even though you're not on the committee, because to me, it's all about the money.
The idea about, this is just the thinking. There's no magic to it, and I'm not on the committee anymore. But the thinking was that if we had the meeting on the day before the council meeting, then we would have something to report
You're
to
talking to the communications.
the communications meeting. That we would have, there would be something to report to the council the next night.
Yeah.
That was the thinking. I think it was, it
Well,
had some
I think
validity.
there's merit.
It had some validity.
Okay. All right, so now I'm going to ask if we want to suspend, a motion to suspend so that we can vote on 2026-03.
So moved.
Just a quick, we're gonna keep the time in here.
We're just going to leave the time the way it is.
And then if, Steve, just what's the rule if we want to, if for any particular council meeting, we have a big issue, so we want to move it to 6?
Well,
Do we just do that by motion, or what do we have to do to?
I think that what you would do is you would call a special meeting for that time. You can call a special meeting on the day that the regular meeting would be called, but you should start it at
So we'd have to call a special meeting to move the time a half hour earlier.
this is, I can read the statute, it's fairly short, and it will answer a lot of these questions. Every public body by rule, so this would be a committee as well, so the committee can establish its own rule as to how it's going to meet and organize, shall establish a reasonable method whereby any person may determine the time and place of all regularly scheduled meetings and the time and place and purpose of all special meetings. A public body shall not hold a special meeting unless it gives at least 24 hours advance notice to the news media that have requested notification except in the event of an emergency requiring immediate official action. In the event of the meeting of an emergency, the member or members calling the meeting shall notify the news media that have requested notification and give the time, place, and purpose. And listen to this, this is ancient. The rule shall provide that any person, upon request and payment of a reasonable fee, may obtain reasonable advance notification of all meetings at which specific type of business is to be discussed. Provisions for advance notifications may include, but are not limited to, mailing the agenda of meetings to all subscribers on a mailing list, or mailing notices in self-addressed stamped envelopes provided by the person. So this was drafted clearly before there was email.
This is our code?
This is our revised code. It's because
The Ohio revised code, not our code.
our code incorporates meeting notices.
All right, well, it sounds like if we had, to Mr. LeMay's question, what if we needed to advance it earlier in the day? We just send out special notices.
Right.
Okay. It's no big deal. Okay.
So it's,
If we need to back it up the other way, we can do this.
6:30 for both. So 6:30 for both.
We have to suspend.
We still have a motion to suspend.
I move
To be
suspend.
Well, we already have the suspend motion. Are we doing a new
Is
one?
it seconded?
Yes. by
Okay,
Colonel
then we'll
Rice.
call a roll on the motion to suspend.
Ms. Swords?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Modi?
yes.
Ms. Godin? Yes. Mr. LeMay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili?
Yes.
Colonel Rice?
Yes.
All right, and a motion for the adoption of 2026-03.
Someone,
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Ms. Swords?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Modi?
Yes.
Ms. Godin?
yes.
Mr. LeMay?
Yes.
Mr. Gentili? Colonel Rice?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we will advance to ordinance 2026-04. This deals with the committees.
So just one point, Mayor. So next month, we're picking this up and starting third and fourth
Yes,
Wednesday next month at
yes.
6:30.
What, in February, we will be having those meetings.
Good to go.
18th and 25th.
All righty.
Okay. Now we're going to deal with the committee ordinance 2020-05. Mr. Byron, why don't you take us through what this does?
Sure. What you have in front of you is that I didn't know what council's desire was regarding the full ordinance. I know that there was a desire to remove the Parks and Beautification Committee, so that's how this is drafted. But, and we can certainly shorten the ordinance so we go straight to that section if that's all you want to do. I didn't make this as an emergency. My thought was that there was going to be some discussion on this. And, I don't know what council's desire is, but you have the full ordinance here to consider.
So, hold on, right now, this agenda item is just for Parks and Beautification?
No. Well, the ordinance that has gone out,
Yeah.
only deletes subsection E, which is the Parks and Beautification, based on the motion that came out last night. In discussions with the mayor, he didn't know how council would want to address the committee structure. This had undergone some significant revisions 2 years ago. And so it was done this way to provide you with the full context of how you select your committees.
And what occurred in our organizational meeting is we did not discuss the investment advisory committee, which I guess actually exists as a council committee right now,
So,
which I didn't appreciate. And I've had an inquiry from council saying, well, what are we doing with that? So this sort of lends, our ordinance consideration here lends into our next agenda item
or
to discuss the investment advisory committee.
shouldn't we have number 7 first before we get to number 6?
And that's fine. We can, it's on for first
You
reading.
could just do a first reading of this
We will-
and consider changes and action in a future meeting. So call this first reading and then we move on to the discussion items. Unless you,
I just didn't want to vote on it today because of the
Absolutely.
conversation.
No,
So if it's
makes
just first reading, that makes sense.
Okay, so let's move on to the discussion of the investment advisory committee that is on the
You want to
agenda.
discuss parks?
Well, so the parks is already, we had already voted, didn't we actually vote?
you directed me to draft an
Oh, you
ordinance
directed
to
me to
remove the
draft.
Parks and Recreation. And I know the rest of it, the mayor asked me to bring all of the committee ordinance to you so you can make decisions.
So just a question on parks, Rick. I know you talked about substituting that with a combination of more of a mayor's advisory committee with the beautification.
Right, I've asked Mr. Schmidt actually to help me because he's very engaged with our, those issues and putting together what this advisory group would look like.
That's important. I think it is a function that, and I think.
But it's a function of the administration, it's not a function. of the
I got it. I just wanted to see if that, I
Yes,
appreciated
that
what
is-
you did.
That is happening.
I'd like to see that happen. That was my
Yes,
question.
that is happening.
And has someone contacted the two volunteers to let them know that there is we will,
I have not had a chance to reach out to them yet, but I will.
you'll do that.
I will commit that I will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that said, moving on to item 7, the investment committee. You want to talk about it?
I'll bring it up. So we did talk about it last month. It doesn't clearly state membership. My personal cut is I don't think we need it. I think the finance committee has the oversight. Peter has the oversight of our investments, and it's only gonna meet, I think, once a year. So I'm not seeing the value in it. Maybe membership to go with it, and I'll go back to my first comment about the finance committee. We all, whether we're on the finance committee or not, should be deeply involved with the finances of the city. I believe our most important job is managing the budget, ensuring the services are delivered, and it's all about the money. So I'm committed to making the effort to dig deep into the finances, even though I'm not on the finance committee, as well as the investments. So that's my cut on it. And I just don't see the value added of the investment advisory.
And I've observed that it's already a stated responsibility of the finance committee to oversee,
Say that again.
and overseeing the investments.
That's in the
It-
current establishment of the committee. Yes.
But I did have a question, because one of the advantages it was providing the investment committee was to be able to bring in some outside, residential expertise. How is that, is that something with an existing committee, like the finance committee, if there was a question and the committee wanted to seek some additional advice, is there anything why they can't go and reach out to a knowledgeable resident? And no, they could, right?
Can reach out to any,
What's that?
can reach out to
Right.
any one or person or entity.
Right.
Like that.
Mayor, I'm happy to restate all of my reasons why I think that this is a good idea.
Sure.
And I'd like to pass something out here that it says that I didn't exactly make this up. Our friends, the Ursuline Sisters of Cleveland, have a finance committee and an investment committee, and they are separate. So this is a common thing to have an investment committee. I don't know how they operate theirs, frankly, but it's common to have an investment committee separate from the finance committee, as I've stated over and over. To reach out just once in a while for a question to members of the community who haven't had a chance to vet them and have applications, I think, how would we find those people, at a moment's notice to answer a question? So I'm happy to go over the reasons why I think that this is a good idea and it's separate.
I wasn't here for the evening that you adopted this. As I understood what had been said about it, the idea was this committee was only gonna meet once a year.
Correct. But it would have standing residential members. It would meet once a year except if necessary.
Do you know when you would want to have that first meeting?
I'd want to have that first meeting sometime soon, because one of their duties would be to look at the performance from the prior year. I think an annual review was in the ordinance, and I think that we could do that anytime once the committee is populated.
Well, one thing is using Ursuline Sisters as a comparison. I mean, as a municipality really isn't typically funded through endowments like an organization like a university or the Ursuline Sisters. So
Of course,
I'm not really sure how we're getting into the business so much of this investment management.
You can have a portfolio to invest in more than one way. You can earn it, which is the way we've done it, or you can have people give it to you through endowments, as you're talking about. The commonality for people who have investment committees is that they have a significant amount of money to invest, and they want expertise to help them do what they do to invest it and invest it in the best ways possible. Maximize the return based on, after we make sure that the funds are safe. That's what our investment policy, our new investment policy said. First thing is safety, second thing is return. So this is what those folks would have expertise in doing.
But that's always been my question to you about it, Tony. That's why we have Fifth Third. They are our investment advisors.
Fifth Third is a hired operative.
Which is a good thing.
That works with the city. They are not the same as what this is.
Let me speak to that, may I?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So this is the world I've been in for about 30 years, both at my employer, and I'm currently on 2 investment committees, a public school and a private school. And your point's well taken, Rick, that we do have Fifth Third. But what I found over my years of experience is many great, and by the way, I really like Fifth Third. I think they're very talented, they're well-staffed, and they have our best interests at heart. But what I found over the years is that all investment advisors tend to have an institutional position on markets and investments. So they will come to a point of view that markets are growing, interest rates are declining or falling, yields and liquidities, recession risk, all those kind of things. And that corporate or institutional viewpoint tends to percolate among all their investment advisors, and appropriately so, because you don't want them, one of their investment advisors, the guys we have, just taking a wing or taking a flyer on anything. But the danger of that is even among great institutions, whether it's JP Morgan or Fifth Third or Goldman Sachs, is that institutional view that percolates through the entire organization is occasionally wrong. And so what institutions that are managing these money do is they have investment committees, which are populated by people who have diverse viewpoints from different perspectives, not just the perspective of the financial manager who we've hired. This is no affront to Fifth Third. I think they're good. The more I've gotten to know them, the more I like them. But that institutional bias exists in any investment manager. And so to backstop that and to make sure you're getting a diversity of viewpoints on financial markets, performance, you would typically have an investment committee that's made of people who are in the market, but not associated with your financial advisor. And what they typically do is ask the hard questions of the investment advisor to make sure they've thought through what their recommended strategy is for the funds, and just to have something else to bounce off to. So that's why, from a fiduciary standpoint, you see those endowments and occasionally cities, but not very often, because most cities are hand to mouth, right? And we're very fortunate to have this fund that we've developed over these years that has really added to our budget. And we are financial stewards of that and fiduciaries of that. And so investment committees are typically formed to bring in other expertise to make sure the institutional view of your investment advisors, whoever they are, is on track and they're not overly biased toward a particular direction from their institution. So they serve as a backstop to that, a sounding board and a check. And that's why you typically see those.
We also have a very narrow bandwidth
Yeah, that's my
of what
point.
they can invest in.
Yeah,
This isn't
we're
from the
limited,
market.
we're limited by
Market.
law. I mean, we have a really narrow bandwidth by law, what we can actually invest in. It's not like we're chasing, junk bonds, corporate bonds versus muni bonds versus treasuries. I mean, we're already extremely limited in what we can invest in. And we also, we're acting like an investment company. We really, I mean, we're fortunate to have that kind of funds, but
Yes, and it, not only are we fortunate, but it also is not necessarily long-term. It just, this may be just a short-term where we're dealing with such a large fund.
We're limited by Ohio Revised Code to 5-year investments, so it is intermediate term by nature. And the size of it will vary, it'll go up and it'll go down as we spend more than we take in, or as we spend less than we take in.
Right.
And to not invest it.
I don't want this to see us in a situation where we're catering to the investment. We're trying to,
we seem to be.
What does that mean?
we're hedging our spending in order to keep the investment. That's what it
No, we should never do that.
I've never done that. That's putting the cart before the horse.
I think I'm trying to
And the
understand.
amount of money we have comes from the results of every year, whether we spend more or spend less than we take in. We've never, ever thought about trying to build this into some sort of a mega fund. Not at all.
It's
just happened that way.
Can I don't mean to interrupt you.
Just about, we have expanded the IPS, the investment policy statement, which we just revised working with Peter. We are in corporate bonds now. We have expanded the scope of that from the very, very narrow. So there's a little bit more bandwidth. It's not,
Pretty narrow.
yen futures, right? It's not crazy stuff. But even within that narrow, to the extent we have some experts who can provide a check and a viewpoint, maybe it's only 5 basis points. But on the size of the fund we have now, that's still a meaningful amount of income. So
It's
from
not always
from
gonna be that size.
I agree, but now it is.
Yeah,
For today, it is though. And from a fiduciary standpoint, just to make sure we're getting the best advice and have a chat. Now, I'm not wed to this type, we could do this in various ways. It doesn't have to be, a whole separate committee. There are other ways we could do this, but I think the core notion of having some experts just to test Fifth Third occasionally, it's just a good thing.
Well, your point is taken, and because I think, as Mr. Schmidt pointed out, as I understood it, it's the specific charge of the finance committee to deal with our investments. That's written into what the finance committee does. I would like to, and I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable spot, Mr. Rankentor. I'm interested in what you think about all this, since you're the guy who deals with this day to day. If it's too uncomfortable and you don't want to be part of the conversation, you shout it out. But if you have something to add, you should add.
Let me just add this, because I kind of heard what Mr. Schmidt was saying, and I hear what Tony's saying. I'm looking at the investment advisory committee language, and if this is supposed to be an advisory board, there's one section in here, section 3, it talks about conducting from time to time a request for proposal services for investment. So I think
I'm sorry, say it again, you kind of mumbled that.
Number 3, this is page 3 of the
Okay.
handout here. Part of the duties of the Investment Advisory Committee is to conduct from time to time a request for proposal for investment advisory services and consider and evaluate proposals from qualified advisors. So I guess what I would have issue with from an administrative standpoint is the word conduct, because then you have an advisory committee conducting the search. I think to me, that's like an issue with this, that kind of goes against, what the administrative roles are in the city.
I think,
So that was passed though with that language,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I agree with you on that. That's,
Well, as I said, I'd like to go through the reasons why I thought that this was a good idea. And then, once I've said my piece, then we can go whichever way you want. If we were gonna start an Air Force for Pike, I would defer to your knowledge. And I think that, in some cases, that might be a good thing to do.
to start an Air Force.
If we were starting an Air Force, I would defer to your years and years of experience. So, the city gains the benefit of local expertise without cost. Pepper Pike and cities like it will always have investment professionals among its residents. When members of the city council do not have the financial and investment experience that we currently enjoy, there should be professionals engaged in this important function. Decision-making would be enhanced as investment professionals can assess investment performance and assess risks more rigorously than our staff of one. We have a great CFO in Peter, but we won't always have Peter. This is for Pepper Pike as an entity. It would enhance the transparency and public confidence and can be a way to engage qualified residents as potential future leaders of the city. It would help assure the public in general that public funds are being handled prudently. It would broaden the perspective in bringing out outside market experience, which is similar to what Jim has been saying, and challenge the way we have always done it thinking, which is something that all organizations get into. We've done it this way forever. Why do we need to change? That's not good thinking. That's not the way the best organizations are run. And I believe we are currently mired in this thought process. We will not always have a finance director treasurer with a background in investing. Our growing portfolio is a relatively new opportunity. It is uncommon for finance directors in cities the size of Pepper Pike to have the requisite expertise. Many of them are controllers, many of the finance directors, more accountants than finance people. We are currently blessed with a CFO. That won't always be the case.
I want to give my 2 cents on this. We just switched banks, right? For a couple of basis points, process efficiencies, stuff Peter knows well about, right? So could we theoretically have this committee make a recommendation that switch from Fifth Third to something else in the future? Maybe, I don't know. But at the same time, what's the question we're really trying to answer? Should we have a formal body that meets in the near future, right? That's the question I have. I don't see too much downside with doing it once, seeing what kind of recommendations come out of it to council and the admin office. And if it's not good use of time, then we can change it after that. That's how I'm thinking about it.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, yes, fine, if we could make it a topic of the finance committee, we could bring in an expert, a resident expert, if we like, and we could do it in the finance committee. We don't need a second committee.
Well, and to kind of pile on to that one, Eric, is Peter read the ordinance. We've already been through this with Parks and Beautification when they tried to talk about RFPs, and Comp Committee before talked about RFPs. That's not the job of especially an advisory committee, which it clearly states that that they can go do that. And that's clearly the role of the administration and based on guidance from council. So I'm kind of like, if we want the investment advisory committee, we need to rescind that ordinance and rewrite it to get them out of the RFP role. Personally, though, I'm good with getting rid of it and letting the finance committee do their job.
I think they should be in the role, and I think that the reason is that there's a difference between accounting and finance. That's why there's separate disciplines in every business school and in every college and every MBA that you have. And accounting is something that we do well. Investments is something that we are not that well versed in. And I think that it's like saying that a lawyer is a lawyer is a lawyer. A personal injury lawyer is quite different from a criminal lawyer. A treasurer is quite different from a controller. And I think that that's something that is well known to people who have been involved in managing large sums of money. And we have a large sum of money. It doesn't matter where it came from. It doesn't matter that it wasn't given to us. And it is a separate function from finance. Finance should focus on, as you say, Bob, money is the important thing. We should focus on what we're spending. Are we meeting our budget? Are we taking in what we're supposed to? Are we spending appropriately? That should be their focus. The focus of this committee, which we even said when we passed it, that it would be a 1-year trial, that we should populate it with individuals from the community who have the expertise to help us.
Maybe somebody that is thinking this is unnecessary can kind of explain to me a little more on like the risk we incur if we try it, because all of the reasons I'm hearing for like maybe why we don't, I could argue maybe that's why we give it a shot. Like they're not going to meet that frequently. It's going to be residents that take another look at that pool of money. I don't hate the idea of having more sets of eyes on that type of thing. So for me, it's just, I'm not seeing like a tangible downside to give it a shot. And I don't think I've heard that either.
So, so my exception to it is, you know, in my personal perspective, we're a municipality, we're not in the business of investment management, and we're not in the business of having endowments. And, you know, frankly, I think when I see that big number for the investments that we currently have, it's telling me that we're not doing things fast enough in the city that we could be doing. And so I don't want to see us trying to perpetuate those investments. I want to see us try to do things for the city that bring, you know, value to our residents.
I don't disagree, but there's already so many guardrails on how this can be invested. And so it's not like they can go put it all in Bitcoin tomorrow.
Yeah, so yeah. Well, that's where, again, to me, it seems unnecessary, because there are already so many guardrails legally as to what can be done with it. So
Wait, are you basically saying?
Unnecessary doesn't mean it's a bad idea. Unnecessary, it could be a help, even though it's unnecessary. Necessity doesn't have to drive.
Well, so, you know, I mean, I gave my opinion, you gave your opinion.
Right. And I'm giving my opinion again, as you gave your opinion twice.
I just want to understand, are you saying, Eric, that we have X million of money, but in the future we won't, because we should be using it wisely?
We should be using it.
Well, to me, that's a different question than what I'm taking here.
No, because I think, as I said, I think that to have this mindset that to have this investment committee, we're going to be perpetuating this fund rather than using it.
You know, it's already in the charter. It's already part of the finance committee. So as Eric and I think the mayor said, we can bring in resident experts to meet with the finance committee and already do this instead of a separate advisory committee. So, but if there seems to be a temperature to maybe try it, but if we try it, I believe we need to change the ordinance. I do not think we should let that committee put out RFPs to go find us a new finance.
They can
I totally agree with
They can
this, sir.
participate in the process.
But-
Because they bring the expertise.
Well, the
Advisory versus execution, right?
Section
Yeah.
E of this ordinance says that this committee can conduct from time to time a RFP process for investment advisory services and evaluate proposals. That is simply not the role of a council committee. And then it goes on to say that such other matters related to part of the role of the committee, such other matters relating to investment advice, investment performance, as the mayor or council deems appropriate. That, as council deems appropriate, that's frankly a wide open door as to whatever it wants to do as a committee. And I just don't think that's the appropriate role of the committee. I did not sign this legislation after it was adopted. I let it just go into, I didn't veto it. I just let it go into effect as a result of being adopted. But I think this is a serious problem with the language of this ordinance and should not be the law of the city.
I have no
So
problem with
I
advisory
think at a
committees.
minimum, that language has to go.
Yeah.
And frankly, I align myself with the thoughts of the Colonel and Mr. Schmidt that this is the role of the Finance Committee. They can perform the functions or the needs that Mr. Lemay is describing. I just don't think that we layer on another committee. I think it tucks into what the already stated role of the Finance Committee is. That's all.
So I think that there's a very narrow band of what we can invest in.
Right.
The organizations that have, like Ursuline and endowment, their universe of investments is much broader, where it makes a lot more sense. Here, Peter has his finger on the pulse of our relationship with Fifth Thirds.
Right.
An investment committee coming in once a year is not gonna uncover something, unbeknownst to him. So taking into account arguments for this, I think it's just another committee that honestly I don't think needs to exist. Like, I think the downside is you establish something, they come in, they try to get a handle on what's really going on. Maybe they make some recommendations. Maybe that swings our portfolio 5 basis points up, 5 basis points down, depending on whether or not Fifth Thirds takes the advice. I think that's kind of a crapshoot. I think the chance of finding people in the community who A, have expertise in municipal finance, and B, want to dedicate time to this. I mean, maybe there's a dozen people out there who are dying to come and be on this committee. I don't know, but I kind of doubt it. It's a really niche field. It just seems like we are not an organization that has the diversity of investments, and we have enough oversight in place that I just don't see the need for it. So that you asked for sort of the contra argument, that's where I'm coming from.
So what we do,
I don't think we need it. I mean, I voted no the first time.
Do you anticipate anything potentially like negative coming out of it?
It's hard to say. I mean, only that I don't see a clear benefit, and I just think when you sort of start to pile layers on something where there are already, several people looking at it, several entities, we're really bound by some pretty strict guardrails, state level. We have, an excellent finance director, we have Fifth Thirds, we have all these people looking at the finance committee. Do you need another?
Do we know how long Fifth Third has
Again,
been
we
in
have
charge?
them now, but we won't always have them. That's the issue. This is,
We've been with Fifth Thirds a long time, right, Peter?
no, I'm saying we have a finance director
No,
now who
I know
has the
that.
expertise.
Sorry,
you
my
just
question
asked.
is, has Fifth Third been our advisor for what duration?
I'd have to ask, I'm sure it's been a while though.
Okay.
It's probably about 10 years.
so what does council want to do? So we can move the agenda and the discussion.
Do we make a motion?
Someone's going to make a motion to do
Well,
something.
I make a motion that we drop the investment committee.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there more discussion regarding the motion before we call it up to?
For those in favor of dropping, do you have any sense that we would modify the finance committee functioning to build this in, or just let it go?
So, no, the finance committee is already supposed to do it. it's already in their charter to do that. So it clearly falls under the finance committee. And, as the mayor and Eric both said, we can bring in experts, citizens that want to help from time to time to fill that function and look at the investments via the finance committee.
I mean, Jim, you've been on the finance committee the longest. Have you felt during that time that you needed, outside opinion that you weren't getting?
Thanks, I appreciate you asking. I guess part of this issue is because the fund has grown to such an extent, and I agree, Eric, it probably won't always be there, but it's there now. And so it's our duty to manage it well as long as we have it. And I have no intent to institutionalize it. I mean, it came down this year because we made great expenditures on trails, and we'll continue to do that. So I've never felt the slightest compunction about spending it for good purposes, and I never will. But it's the size of it, Jackie, has grown so much that and as I said before, Fifth Third, I've got to know those guys. If it's all conversations offline with them, just probing them, and I like them. And I think they're capable of doing a good job. But I've just seen this in my career, particularly for long tenured investment advisors. They come from their position, they take an institutional position, and every once in a while, having a perspective someone else will open your eyes and say, there's an opportunity that they're not bringing to us that we hadn't thought about before. So we have an expertise pushback to say, hey, why aren't you thinking about this for investments?
Okay, so this is my thought. I think Ms. Godek is correct. I think it's going to be, I suspect she's correct. There's going to be a hard time identifying and attracting anyone who wants to do this evaluation. Unpaid, which is another issue for the city. Why are we retaining people with no contractual?
Well, why do we have people on the infrastructure committee?
Let me finish. I agree with a lot of your thoughts about it, though, Mr. Wilmette. I think, as I point out, I have problems with this Section 8 and what it does functionally. I think your observations, though, should be handled within the context of the Finance Committee, is all I'm saying. I think that's where they belong. And those are my thoughts on it. I just think, I'm not saying you're illegitimate in what you're thinking of saying. I just think it belongs in Finance Committee, not in another layer of
It's a new
bureaucracy.
question, Fifth Third. I mean, is your role on the finance committee, have you taken this on?
Yeah, just
You
for
have, because you have a background in this.
Yeah, well, I guess a few points in that. So I do have a background in the area, but I'm not kind of in the market every day today, though I follow it very closely, and I'm on 2 investment committees where I'm kind of the senior member. But many of the rest of the members are actively in a brokerage firm, a trading firm, or investment advisory firm, so they're really in it every day. And so they have a current perspective, I guess, that more senior might not have. And so I really enjoy doing this, and I love my conversations with Peter about, well, what's Fifth Third recommending? What have they bought? What's the maturities? What's their viewpoint on this? But it's kind of the growth of the size of it. Now, Mr. Mayor, whether it can be handled in a way through the Finance Committee, if council would be inclined to be open to that, I would pursue that. And I don't know, Jackie, I'm hoping there's some good citizens who will volunteer their time. But your points were taken. I don't know if there are, and if there's not, unless we can find someone who wants to.
Unless we try a little.
Well, unless we can find someone who has the expertise and wants to be civic-minded and volunteer their time, like the citizen members of all these other committees, which they do, then I wouldn't pursue it, because I'm not gonna have someone who doesn't have the will, the expertise, and the desire for public service. So it's not, so if we couldn't find anyone, it would stop there in my opinion. Because I want to find citizens who have maybe a background like I have in doing investment committees, and I'm still on 2 of them, but is kind of in that world today, so they really have a really current perspective and can bring fresh ideas and bring a check. Fifth Third's done a good job, but they're not, every institution has had their biases and their quirks. And with this much money, it would be great to have a couple of people who just have a different, diverse viewpoint and just bring it to bear.
But does it help if we commit the finance committee would pursue looking for a resident expert in the area that might attend a meeting or two to help review the investment?
And the other question, I kind of had is, okay, the communications committee has residents, the R&I has residents, the finance committee does not have residents. Would that help bring a different set of eyes and expertise to that? Have you discussed that in the past?
We have discussed that in the past, and finding, often the difficulty of that is fund accounting in municipal finance. There's not a lot of people out there who are experts in that. But I have to separate, municipal finance from investments. I think those are really two different things. Because this is a pool of cash. It has a restricted investment window because we can't, go yen futures or something, cryptocurrency. But still, it's different. You don't need to know fund accounting to understand investments, even within the narrow range of investments that we can invest in. So my ideal expert would someone who's with a brokerage firm or an investment advisory firm who's managing money, lives in the city, and has more of a fixed income orientation.
But we can do that search, the finance committee could do that search. We don't need another committee to do that search.
I'm really,
Finance committee can do that.
I'm really struggling with the role of this person that you described. We can't be talking about someone who at the end of a year comes in and says, oh, you should have bought NVIDIA. Look how well NVIDIA did this year. I'm not saying they're not qualified, obviously, to be a municipal investor. I'm saying it can't simply be some hindsight, oh, you should have purchased some specific,
That's what it sounds like.
investment.
Well, I take Jim's
That doesn't
point.
accomplish
I
anything.
take Jim's point in terms of like institutions, they're, they have their angle, also longer relationships. I'm not saying they get lazy, but certain things you take for granted, like I 100% agree with that. And I think especially with, publicly traded banks or any entities, what's their number one priority? Making money, not Pepper Pike. That's capitalism, right? Like that's fine. But
Well, you asked a great question. How do they make money?
But I do feel like, we have them in here periodically. You've, cultivated a relationship with them. Peter deals with them on an ongoing basis. I just struggle. I would be more inclined to bring in a resident member on every month to participate in the finance meetings with an eye towards this specific area instead of, having the once a year, swoop in and figure it out type of thing.
I agree with you. Rick, to your point, if we're going to not do it the way, I think how this was originally conceptualized was, yes, the investment committee would continue in its oversight role of those, but the once a year thing would have this committee to come in and just evaluate how did they do, and just so we have diverse perspectives on how they did and what their plans are for the next year in terms of an investment philosophy. If we did away with that, then I think more to Jackie's point, I would entertain having one person at least just join the finance committee.
I like that idea.
But with that specialized expertise, not community finance expertise, but investment expertise, to weigh in on a period.
It's more of a structural thing though that you're looking at, not a particular investment idea.
Oh, never. It's never that. So just as the investment committees I serve on right now, it's never, you should have bought X versus Y. It's more broad strokes of where do you see the market going long-term? How are you positioning us for success? Tell me about where that failed last year, broadly speaking, not why did you buy X? It's just, we never do that on my investment committees. That's just not how they operate. So it's more broad strategic positioning. the investment committees also serve as a compliance function. Are you guys in trouble with any one of the SEC or not? But we can do that in the finance committee well. So I think that would be at least getting partway to bringing in the expertise as a backstop check on this. What I've seen is the creeping, as Jackie suggested, the occasion get institutional bias in direction that is kind of blinder toward a direction and they're not seeing other things.
I want to just make a point. I think that the person, if you brought somebody into the finance committee for investments, that having them there monthly is too often. Investments are like infrastructure. They don't change that rapidly. This is something that should be looked at periodically, quarterly, annually. And to have somebody come in with that expertise, they're not going to be able to do very much for you. It's better to come in after there's been a performance, a period of performance, and take a look and see, and ask some tough questions that maybe we wouldn't think of. What was your rubric? What were you thinking? How did you approach making these investments for us? There have been times when, believe it or not, municipals were better for an entity like us, even though they tend to pay less because of the tax implications. There have been times when CDs were better. There have been times when 3-year treasuries were better. We don't know these things, and I'm afraid that if we don't have somebody out there who has their fingers in the market, at least maybe 2 people, that we're going to be missing out on an opportunity. And I don't see any downside to this. There really isn't a downside.
So to Tony's point, if we would structure this to the finance committee, I would agree. It's not an every month thing. And it's better for the volunteer too, to have a quarterly. And maybe we organize the meetings that way, and so that we have more of a emphasis on finance for 1 out of every 4 or 1 out of every 6 meetings, where those volunteers or the residents come in and say, well, here's my current take on things.
And
So-
certainly they would participate in the, typically if there's comes in and hopefully annually,
Sure,
right? Like,
in that meeting
would
as
be
well.
a
That would be
no-brainer.
a mandate, yeah, for them, that would be the mandatory. But maybe twice a year, other than that,
Yeah.
might be a good balance between their time, their expertise, and what they can add value on.
The other thing I wonder, like the way the investment advisory committee is written currently, is there anyone are they just like running their own show? You know what I mean? Like we don't have any committees that are solely resident run, right? And am I reading this wrong? But is there a member of council on the investment advisory committee?
I think the plan was to have the mayor, Peter.
What's the document say? The ordinance, what's the ordinance say?
Right.
We haven't passed that ordinance yet because
No,
that
yeah,
would
we did.
no.
It was
The ordinance with the language is there, but what the committee ordinance requires is that for each committee, you specify how many residents.
No, but I mean, when you passed the investment advisory committee ordinance in December, did it not specifically state what the membership was going to be?
No, none of them do.
The membership is set by a previous section of the committee section. So the general provisions of the committee section lay out council having the authority to establish the committees from time to time.
Which they did.
Yeah, and the members of the committee shall consist of members of council and members who are residents of the city, qualified and nominated in accordance with the later portion of the section.
But which
So-
they didn't do.
So at the organizational meeting every year, typically you would say, this committee will have X residence members, X council members, and so that would be set up every year. It's flexible that way.
Why don't we just fold this concept into the finance committee? Then we have to worry about this problematic language about conducting RFPs and having wide open charges at the end. We should just run it that way and we can accomplish the things that we described.
And if we get, a couple like bang up people who wanna, and it feels like it makes sense to spin it out into its own thing because the goals are too contradictory. You know, I almost am more comfortable approaching it, sort of starting it out under finance, and then if it really just feels like these are two very different goals and it doesn't make sense to have them together, then kind of coming back to the separate committee for.
Okay. Well, we have a motion pending.
Can I suggest, and this is your creature, Tony, but I'm willing to draft something along the lines of what we just talked about in folding it into finance. If that.
I think it's already in finance.
Pardon me?
I think it's already in finance.
Folding it in terms of membership, so deciding upon these things, like adding a member to the finance committee.
Well, so what we have a motion to drop the investment committee. So if we pass that, the finance committee can talk among ourselves about what we want to do going forward and then come with a proposal to council.
Okay, just so you know, in the committee descriptions, the finance committee is already charged with reviewing and making recommendations on city financials, including city investments, and other matters of a financial and accounting nature as the committee may deem appropriate. So I think it's there.
And it was intended to be there already, because that would be the day-to-day, and the other committee was kind of episodic.
Okay, so that's up to the committee. The committee needs to run with this now and deal with it.
Let's drop the investment committee. The finance committee can meet and talk about how it'll execute on making a recommendation.
You know, I think yours point's completely valid, Jim. Put an investment advisor on the finance committee. Or two, whatever we find for citizenry to help that. Put it where it belongs.
All right, so we have to deal with the motion that's on the table. So that was to to abolish the investment committee. It's got a first and a second.
Yeah.
Mr. Schmidt moved it. Mr. Colonel Rice seconded it. Unless there's more discussion, we'll call the roll.
Ms. Stork,
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt,
Yes.
Mr. Modi,
I'm gonna just say no with the asterisk of striking that language.
Ms. Godick,
Yes.
Mr. Lemon,
I'm gonna say no, because I wanna see if we can execute on this other thing, and if we can, I'll be satisfied with that.
Mr. Gentili.
No.
Colonel Rice.
Yes.
So as a practical matter, what I'll do is, the same way that E has lines running through it, the next version, the as amended version of this ordinance will show that with the investment advisory committee. And that will be on the next agenda. if the mayor wants.
Okay, and I would urge that the finance committee at its next meeting that we have on its agenda dealing with, affirmatively dealing with the things that we've discussed here tonight. Okay. Next, we will move on to the, Mr. Modi has asked that we have a discussion of city process for resident input. And I think he has a,
I've got a few slides.
you've got a deck for us.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, that you might have to push. Yeah, you might have to push the thing.
It's underneath the No, just stay there. You see, all we needed, Alyssa, was a rolling table set up, and then we're done. You can cancel the meeting.
Won't be able to see it brief.
Call it reads, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let me just give some context of what I'm